Hey everybody, Clay Archer, CEO DPC Technology, and I've got a super exciting one today. Today we're going to review the long-awaited UNAS Pro. First of all, I want to thank UNIFI for sending me over an early sample of the UNAS Pro. I've been testing it for a while. This is a really unique and cool device. This is a 7-bay device. It does come with one 10 gigabit SFP Plus connection and one 1 gigabit Ethernet port. During setup, I'll show you the different RAID configurations you can set up the hard drives in, but using the most space-efficient RAID, which is RAID 5 on this device, you can basically get 6 usable drives. So well over 100 terabytes is easily doable on this device with, new modern large NAS drives. UNIFI was nice enough to provide mine with 4 8-terabyte drives. The UNAS Pro is also UNIFI Power Backup ready. So without any further mumbling, let's jump over to my house where I'm going to do this review. I will also say that I just did a factory reset on this. So when you do a factory reset, first of all, you need to be logged in as an administrator. You're going to get 2 options. You can either do a factory reset and just reset the device itself, or you can reset the device and format all the drives. I have formatted all the drives, so this is starting over just as if this is a brand new NAS. And it has come up after that reset, and now it's showing me that it is ready to be detected. So let's go ahead and detect it. And it's going to bring up the original screen. I haven't seen this in a hot minute, so let me just walk you through it. So we'll call this UNAS Pro. That's probably fine for me. I'm going to go next. Now, I could restore from a backup if I had made a backup from this, but and I actually do have a backup, but I'm actually not going to restore from backup. I'm going to go do a fresh install. And we'll go ahead and put this in here. It's going to verify on my phone that it is me using UI Verify. And it's going to ask me if I want to restore from backup. I am not going to restore from backup. I could if I wanted to, but I am not going to there. You can see it's backed up to the cloud for me. I've had this on for some time, and you can see I've got tons of backups here that it's done. And it just versions in I guess I've had it set up to do it every week. And you can see it's been doing that for some time. And doing them well. And if I needed to go back to any one of those versions, I could just click there and it would go ahead and do that. I'm going to go ahead and click continue without backup. And it's going to ask me how I want to set up my storage. First of all, I need to thank UNIFI for sending out the device. But they also sent out 4 8-terabyte drives. So I've got 4 drives here. And you get a couple different options. You get a hot spare option. You get higher protection option. At least 2 drives for basic protection. I'm going to go ahead and click on both of them. So basically when you go to 4, you're getting half of the drives that you're going to get data off of. And if you go to basic protection, you're basically getting RAID 5 where you're getting all but 1 drive of protection. So I'm going to go ahead and go with that. And you can click on a hot spare here if you wanted to have 1 as a hot spare. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to leave it in basic protection, and I'm going to click finish. And it's just going to go through and it's going to partition those drives. And it says it's going to take about 1 minute left. All right, now it says setup's complete. I'm going to go to the dashboard. And I'm going to go sign in here. And then I'm going to accept that prompt. All right, so now you can see it's logged in and here we are. So basically it's very similar. If you've seen Protect before, it's very similar dashboard to that. Obviously, I've got no activity going on right now. But you can see up here in the top left, there is the number of drives. You can see what they're doing. You can see that they're healthy. I've got this connected over 10 gigabit SPF Plus to my HAG switch. You can see it's running UNIFI OS 4.1.4. And Drive, which is the new software for the NAS, is at 1.15.4. Next on the dashboard, you got your file servers. You got a Mac and Windows quick copy. So if you click here, it's just going to copy the address to your clipboard so you can paste it somewhere else. Same thing with Windows, and Time Machine is enabled, so that if I want my Mac device to use this as a Time Machine target, it can use it. I've got 1 active user. That's the user I set it up with. And my recent sign-ins is just me. So it's saying here for optimal speeds, mount drives and Mac OS and Windows. So using the SMB protocol. So if you just click on mount drives, it's going to walk you through mounting those drives. Then you got powerful backup system set up now. You can set up that and we'll walk through that as well. This is going to be your transfer speeds where you're going to see activity. Down below, we got all drives and snapshots. So if you make drives for yourself and you want to set up snapshots as well, you can click here and you can set those up. Next is all files. Obviously, I haven't set up anything here yet, but you can see here's all the available files and the file structure. If you wanted to do it here in the OS, you could do that. You can see Dan's drive, which is basically one that's set up for me. You can set up snapshots and you can change your settings here If I wanted to force a limit on this, I could do that as well. And there's an example of a shared drive. So in here, I could do all the same stuff here, but I can add other users as I add them to the system. The next thing is trash can. It'll show you stuff that has been deleted. And when you move stuff to trash, it ends up in this trash can. You basically system logs. So you got activity, storage, backup, snapshot, service, and host. All cool stuff. And then you got your settings. And you'll see here that it's moved to the control plane as well with the latest version of Drive, so that you basically don't have to go in and out of Drive up here to the device itself. It's just in here in control plane. And you can see basically it's going to give you the basic stats, your backups, when those are set up for your storage, your basic overview of storage. You can look at each of the drives and see their temperature and basic data on the drives, configuration of it. All pretty self-explanatory stuff you can explore. You can reformat it here as well. And I think you can change to higher protection here. It's going to reformat it all, but I didn't realize you could do that. It's probably going to warn you and tell you, this is probably not non-destructive, that you're going to lose data, but you can change the settings there. Under console, you have all your main settings. You can change the name, change your time zones, screen brightness, all that kind of stuff, your email services, support file, so you can download the support file. So that will actually help them debug this. I guess you could set that to support. SNMP monitoring, you got a couple different versions that you can do there. Certificates, you can add them. So you can allow remote access, you can do analytics and improvements, and you can SSH them to the device, which is cool. You also have the option to restart, shut down, transfer ownership, factory reset, and about this console. You will not see the transfer ownership or factory reset unless you sign in as the admin. As I said before, I did this factory reset just now. And when you do that, it gives you a couple options. You can just reset the configuration, or you can reset the configuration and delete all your data. I just did that. I've been using this for a while and cleared all my data off of it and then did a factory reset. The same thing with transfer ownership. It's only available if you are signed in as admin. You can see down here, there are two options here for connecting. I'm using my SFP Plus connection here, 10 gigabit over to my ag switch. So in here, you're going to get your push notifications. You can set it from everything from, drive issues down to admin access being created, backup being created, all that kind of stuff. So good to have all the alerting stuff so you can obviously be aware of what's happening on your device. And then you have admin and users. So you can come in here and create new admins, manage roles under admins. Under users, you can create new users. Obviously, different people on your network that you want to give access to the files. You can just create them in here. Identity endpoint, I am actually going to adopt mine into UID Enterprise, which is a unique way to manage it. Obviously with UID, I get everybody automatically in there, and I can set it up more to kind of run think of it as a OneDrive in my organization. So I'm going to end up doing that, but you can use identity endpoint to do some of the same things. So you can have it automatically send people invitations when they have an email in here. So if you set up the user and they have an email, it'll send them a invitation. And you can also require a verification code when loading credential. It also has directory integration. So you can click setup in here and you'll see you got Microsoft Extra ID, Active Directory, Google Secure LDAP, and Jump Cloud LDAP. So there's several different ways you can do that there. Again, I'm not going to use any of those. I'm going to adopt mine into UID Enterprise. And actually the one that I'm going to use, which is going to take me down a little bit of a tangent, is add to existing UNIFI workspace. So I'm going to go in here and it's going to walk me through the instructions on setting it up. Basically, I'm going to go to my UID Enterprise Manager, Settings, UNIFI Consoles, and click upper right, Add Console icon. Then going to ask me to follow the on-screen instructions to create a token. And I'm going to copy the token and put it down here. So real quickly, I'm going to log into UID, add console. I'm going to say UNAS home. Token, I'm going to go never expire. I'm going to create that token. Verification in UI verify. And it's asking me, do I want to add that token? I'm going to say yes. All right. And so it took that. And now I'm going to go ahead and take this key, super secret key. I'm going to go back into Drive. I'm going to push my token back in here. I'm going to go add. And it's going to say it's going to bring me right into DPC technology, which it's going to do. I click add. Before the upgrade, ensure that you have a backup of your UNIFI console data and configurations, coded backup and restore. I'm not going to because it's just a brand new fresh install. And the more information there, and you have to click agree, and I'm going to go okay, and it's going to activate UID, and you can see that it did. It's going to get a new version of UID available. I'm going to go ahead and update to the latest greatest. So you can see now I'm on the latest version of Identity Enterprise, and I am now, if I go into users, all of my identity users are in here now. And so the power for this on somebody that's running a business is now all of these people are already in here as active users, and I can just start sharing things, creating drives for them. Think of this as kind of your own personal OneDrive or Google Drive now that you can share across the company. Now, I don't necessarily need to do that. I could invite people with invite links each time I want to share a file with them. This is going to have a deeper integration, and they're all going to get their own personal drives. So basically, it's like us being all able to share our OneDrives back and forth and just copy and paste things to each other, which is pretty awesome. So anyways, obviously now my user experience is going to be a little different than yours, because if I go back into my main screen, now I get to see all of these different people. And I can just click to set up here a drive for anybody, which makes my admin of this super duper easy for me to do inside of this enterprise. Now, so obviously we have probably 40 something users in our UID enterprise. So you're not going to see this much on your screen, but it is a quick and easy way for us to be able to manage and share stuff pretty easily. All right, so I want to show you quickly how to set up the UNAS from your phone. So you can see in my UNIFI app, it has already found the new device, UNAS-Pro, and I'm going to go ahead and click set up on my phone. Pretty simple. It's going to do its little connecting thing. And all I've done here is I reformatted the UNAS-Pro, and it just came back on the network and it automatically found it. But change the name to UNAS-Pro, and I'm going to go next. It's going to show me my drive configurations. I'm going to go next. And now you get to choose your storage protection. I'm going to go with the basic protection, which is basically a RAID 5. I don't want to use a hot spare, but of course you could choose any of those things as you felt necessary. So I'm going to go ahead and go next. Very quickly, it's showing me I'm going to have 24 terabytes available, and 8 terabytes is going to be in that RAID, not unusable. So that's kind of the parity drive there. So I'm going to go next. And then it's just going to walk through setting up UNIFI OS. Basically, it's just doing that in the background. And it's giving me a nice countdown of how long it's going to take. Obviously, this doesn't take very long. It didn't take very long when I did it on the desktop either. I'm reconfiguring this now. I'm actually going to bring it back to the office and use it in the office. And it's been at my house for the last couple months playing with it here. All right, so there you go. I got setup complete. I'm going to go ahead and click finish. And that's all she wrote. So here you can see it pops up on the device. It gives me the basic information. I can change things around, take a look at stuff. But obviously I probably wouldn't manage to set all from my phone. But at this point, I would log into it from my computer and finish my initial setup. So there you go. That's how to adopt the UNAS-Pro from your mobile device. I happen to do it on Android. I'm sure it's the same experience on iOS. So that being said, let's start by just creating a quick share for ourselves. In here, I'm able to do quite a few things. I can just drag and drop files into here. I'm going to actually drag something here locally from my computer. I actually just tried to pull something from OneDrive, and it was faster than the internet. It went really slow. So my OneDrive obviously is not all on my machine. Some of it is in the cloud, so it was slow to pull down. So I'm going to put in here, I'm going to drag and drop in some UNVR video B-roll that I've already done. And you can see down here, it's go ahead and copying it in. All right, well, that's continuing to download. You can go in here and you can rename, duplicate, move, copy, download, move to trash. You can also go to any particular thing. Like, let's just say I want to send this one file. I wanted somebody to review this. I can share a link, and I can set a link expiration on that. So let's just say I want this link to be good for 2 days. That's cool. I can set an access limit. Let's just say I want this to be accessed twice. I require a password. I can enter a password. And if I did all those things, and I can just create and copy a link, it'll click on create and copy. It's the link is copied and created. And so then anywhere I want to, I can just paste in that link, and it's going to go there, and it's going to let them go to that file. And the cool thing about that link is you can send that to anybody, anywhere. Super easy, super quick. And it just works like that. They can click there and download it. Obviously, if it was a different kind of image that had a preview, they would have a different preview there. I do kind of like to be able to have it in this format. But what's super awesome about this interface, and I'm going to go ahead and log into the interface. I use UID to log in, but you can just go into your UNIFI account and log into the device straight from there. And when I'm in here, I can go right into the drive and I don't have to do anything. This is my normal user. Actually, on the other over here, I'm logged in as an admin. This is my normal user, and I can just drag and drop files here no matter where I'm from. So if I'm have my office where I'm not local and I just want to drag a file in here, just like I was on Google Drive, I'm going to drag it in here. And when I get home in my folder, it's sitting on the computer here. So if I'm at work, I can just drag it over there. It'll upload. By the time I get home, I'm able to work on those files at full speed, which is awesome. I do a lot of video editing. And for these video files, you saw, me pulling this file over here. These are not small files. This is typical of the stuff that I do. And actually, this is a small video file. These can be, by the time I do them, probably 60, 70 gigs of data in all the different folders. So to be able to upload that, be able to go back home, when I get home, they're just in my drive, just sitting there ready to go, which is really, really awesome. Let's go back in. I want to show you a couple other things that are kind of probably super important right off the bat. Obviously, setting up your users is something that you're going to want to do right off the bat. But even before you do that, you can just set up your backup. The backup is super easy to set up. I'm going to go select that at a backup. I'm going to go all files. You've got a couple different options here. You could back up to Google Drive. You could back up to a remote UNAS, which would be awesome. You would just click it and choose its name. It would do that. I'm going to go to an SMB share. All right, so you can see I put in my credentials there. It said server connected. I'm going to do folder update, folder replacement. Keep the files in destination server that didn't match the source folder names. Replace the entire folder. I'm going to go folder update. Then I'm going to make a destination folder on here. I've already got one that I've set up. UNAS Pro Backup. I'm going to select. And then I'm going to set my time frame here. The schedule's on. I'm going to do it daily. I'm going to do at or between 12 a.m. Boom, boom, boom. Perfect. And I got to give it a task name. Of course I didn't. I'm going to go UNAS Backup. And then I'm going to go create task. And boom. Would you like to initiate a backup now? Sure. Let's create a backup right now. Not really much on here to back up, but that's just going to go ahead and fire that off and do its thing. Super easy. Then I can come back in here and click on manage. I can have multiple backups, going in multiple different ways. Create another task. Just keep doing them just as we just did. Second thing you want to do is snapshots. You can see that I did snapshots before, which were super easy. I'm going to go click on this guy. I'm going to go snapshot limit 228. We go snapshot schedule on. I'm going to go on daily. Cool. 12 a.m. sounds perfect. Create a snapshot. Boom. And so now I know that I'm getting a snapshot of each one of these drives as needed. And I don't have to do ones I don't need to do, and I can do the ones that I need to do. So super easy, super flexible as well. I'm going to go shared links. You can see that one that I shared earlier for that file is here. I can manage it. If I wanted to kill them, I could kill them. If that's already done, I know it's done it more than it needs to. This has a 2 user limit. You can see I did that one, and that it's going to expire on the 17th. I can go and manage here, and I can delete them or whatever I need to do. Services, you can see here I've got web access. It's coming in on the SMP Plus interface, and that's the address of my drive. You can hit that interface by just clicking copy on this local web address and pasting it in wherever you want to. Learn more on how to mount SMB drives on your desktop. That's going to bring you out to a knowledge base article. You must have file service credentials to log in via SMB. So that is true. If you're trying to map a drive to your UNIFI drive, you obviously need to have those credentials. And so it's pretty easy to do. We'll go ahead and walk through that here in a second when I change my OBS output window. Learn to use Time Machine and backups. Again, that's going to bring you to another knowledge base article. Pretty simple to set up Time Machine and have this be its target. We'll do that here in a minute as well. So if you did want to encrypt your drives, you certainly can. You click on here and put in a password here, select the drives. The read-write speed of the encrypted drives will decrease. Existing snapshots will be removed. So if you want to go ahead and encrypt your drives, I would do that before you start using the data, just so you don't have to, lose any snapshots or anything that you don't want to lose. But anyways, you certainly can do that later as well if you want to. I'm going to go cancel there because I'm going to apply those changes. And we already talked about the push notifications, but there are quite a few of them, and you can go through and figure out which ones work the best for you. One other thing you've got now, if you can go into logging, you can see now that I've been doing a bunch of stuff. You can see all of this is logged, which is great. If you're trying to figure out what happened to a file, who deleted it, whatnot, that's all going to be in here. Obviously, ad nauseum, probably don't need all this stuff, but it is here if you need it. That is pretty much it for the interface here. Super simple to do. You can see that my backup task was successful, went through and backed that up. For anybody that's seen Protect or Network lately, this new design interface is very familiar. You can see down here, I copied that one file, it completed, I canceled the other one out because it will needed to download it from the internet. It was going to take forever, but just real simple, easy. You can see the graphs going by as we're starting to do stuff and there's successful tasks going by. But that just propagates and builds. Very simple, very clear. I do like the fact that they've got this kind of shortcut stuff that would be, obviously stuff that you would want to do more often is just there. I will say, for me personally, as a NAS user, I've done it several different ways. I've used QNAPs, I've used Synology, I've got an HL15, a big kind of converged device here. For me, what I do the most of is just use it as a simple file share. So for me, this simple interface, very easy to set up. It also is in my UID, which is really nice for me because I just go bounce between my different devices here. Obviously, you could do that with Site Manager as well. So you got this device, maybe you've got network running on a gateway or a UNVR-Pro. Maybe you're managing your mom or your dad's network as well. You could just put them all in Site Manager and bam, 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 they're all there and they're super easy to bounce back and forth through. So I really am a big fan of the interface itself. Let's go through here and do the things that I typically do with this. Like I said before, one of the differences between this and those other devices is I'm not going to run a bunch of other stuff. This is just really for file shares for me, which is ultimately what I'm using a NAS for. So if you wanted to run 55 other different programs on here, this isn't the device for you. But if you're just looking for a super fast and easy network device that is easy for you to set up and just manage in your own network, that's what this device is for you. If you want it to look like your other UNIFI devices, be in that same ecosystem, that's who this device is for. But with that, I'm going to go ahead and set up SMB share here, and I'm going to set up Time Machine from my wife's Mac to come back over to this device. Okay, so I'm over here in File Explorer. I'm basically going to go to my network here. I'm going to go right click, and I'm going to go map a network drive. And then I'm going to use the address that I copied, go over here and copy again, from my dashboard in UNIFI. And I'm just going to go boom, paste. All right, and there you go. You can see it right there, popped up, personal drive. I'm now able to navigate to that drive and just use it like I'm using anything else on my desktop, which is really, really awesome. So any of these files are just clickable and draggable, and you can see I can just, right click on things and go properties and all the same things as if you were just kind of there. So, my UNVR-Pro was a 34.4 gig file there. So you can see I get pretty big. So just real quick, I'm going to take a file from my Plex here. I'm just going to YouTube here and let's go copy from that. And we're going to just paste that in over here in my personal folder. You're not going to see it pop up, but it is going at 494 megabytes per second. So it is hauling butt. This is a 15 gig file, and it's going to take about 20 seconds for it to copy from my HL15, which is a 10 gigabit per second device, to this device, which is 10 gigabit per second. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We are done. You're going to get full 500 megabits per second transfer speeds. I'm typically seeing somewhere between 450 and 550 from my PC and from my HL15 back to this, but obviously super, super fast. At the end of the day, it's hauling butt. It's hard to do speed test comparisons. I've got a very, very fast network here. Obviously, I got 10 gig in my computers. I got 10 gig switching. I've got a HAG switch. I've got a dual 10 gigs in my HL15. I've got 10 gig in this, but I am consistently getting that 500 megabit per second, which is more than enough for a device like this for me. Let me do this. I'm going to quickly log into my wife's Mac, and we will set up Time Machine. I'll show you what that looks like as well. All right, so I've logged into my wife's Mac here, and I'm just going to go into System Settings, I'm going to go into general here. Then I'm going to go to time machine, and I'm going to go add backup disk. And because I've already set up the UNAS to be time machine ready, it's just automatically going to find it there. I'm going to go OK. It's going to go mounting UNVR-Pro.local. And I'm going to change this here to my credentials there on it. And I'm going to go connect. And it's going to say encrypt backup, new password, re-enter password. Go ahead and encrypt that backup. And we're going to go usage limit. I'm going to go none there, and I'm going to go done. And as simple as that, I've got Time Machine set up here to automatically back up my wife's Mac to the UNAS. Couldn't have been any easier. Got options. I can go back there and play around with it, but bada boom, bada bing. That's all you have to do, and your Mac is now a Time Machine backup to the global UNAS. So I can also click on options here and exclude from backup certain things. I've got no excluded items, and I could also change my frequencies. Right now it's happening every hour, do every week, every day, every whatever. And, just like a normal incremental backup, it's just doing slices every so often on that and just changing the things that have changed on her Mac in the time frame. So I'm going to hang out here for just one more second. It's showing me that there's 23.93 terabytes available and that it's encrypted. And I just want to see what it says when it says preparing this backup. Obviously, it's going over Wi-Fi to my wife's Mac, so that may take forever and a day. But don't really care because it's just a backup that's happening in the background. So super easy, super simple. I will tell you the interface from the UNAS to the Mac was as simple as it could possibly be there. It was automatically just looking for that time machine instance. So couldn't have been any better. So with that, I'm going to go back over. I'm just going to show you, you saw me logging in as users there a bunch of times, and I'll show you how to manually override your user settings if you're trying to set up SMB and not being able to log in. You may be saying to yourself, Clay, you're putting those credentials into Windows and into the Mac OS there to do that time machine. Where did you get that? How do you know what your credentials are? So all you got to do is go into your user itself, and on the settings tab, you'll have this option here for username and reset password. So mine's already been done. So let me just go into Daniel's here, and I would go into his, and it would be file services credentials. You click here, and you could set a username and password. Obviously, you log into your UNIFI instance with this email address or a username, just depending on which way you're kind of coming in. But so sometimes you're like, I don't know what that username and password really would be. So this is where you set that up. It's the file service credentials. It's under settings under each individual user. And you can set that to whatever you want it to be. And then you click save, and there you go. Bob's your uncle. When you go into Windows or Mac or wherever you're trying to do that SMB share, and you hit over here, these are the credentials that it's going to use to log in there. Super easy for you to go back and reset it. So if, hey, I forgot mine, I haven't logged into it for 2 years or whatever, I just come back in here and click reset password here. As long as I have admin credentials to get into Drive itself, I've got the ability to come back in there and reset that password. So that's it from the house. Tomorrow I'll go to the office, and I'll show you what it looks like to manage the system from afar. I'll kind of go over the pluses and the minuses of the systems. We'll wrap this all up, and we'll decide whether the system may or may not be right for you. All right, we're back at the office. I'm going to kind of show you how I use it here at the office. You can see those transfers we're going over last night. I've gone ahead and signed in. I'm using my UID Enterprise account just to log right in with Site Manager to my UNAS Pro. So anyways, here's the activity that happened last night. You can see it was doing that time machine backup of the Mac, and it went through the night and did its thing. So I'm going to go back into files over here, and I'm going to go to my drive. So you can see the two folders that I drug over here, and I can see all the files in here. I can, download them, do whatever I want to them as well. You can also see that I did Margaret's iMac into my folder. I didn't set up a whole user for her yesterday just because I was doing the demo, but in here you can see all of the files that are associated with that time machine backup, and that it is going. So that's all cool. So let's just say I want to use this file here at work. Yeah, obviously I can't map a network drive here unless I set up a VPN. I don't have a VPN set up between my house and my office, but if I did, I could then target and map a network drive here. But for my purposes, I don't do that. And so anyways, if I want to play with this file, I could just download these files and see them, play with them, do whatever I wanted to do with them. So what I would do here is very similar to what I did at home. I'm actually just going to drag a file from my desktop on in here, and you're going to see it's just going to upload that. This is another YouTube video. There's 21 files in there. You can see it's doing its thing. It's uploading it. So as soon as this is done copying, anybody that has access to this folder will have access to this file. So it's as simple as that. I'm going to go ahead and show you one more thing that I didn't show you at home. I'm going to go into active users again. I set up Margaret's time machine backup to go right into mine, but let's just say I wanted to add a user. I'm going to go ahead and go over here, and I'm just going to add Margaret in here. Now, she's not a UID user, and I will set her password here myself. Notice I did that while that's uploading to happening in the background, but there you go. Margaret is now a user in here. There she is, ready to go. So as simple as that to add users, manage users. I can go back in here, and I can, go back into manage, and I can change anything, reset her password, all the same stuff I did there. One of the beauties of this, just because the way that Drive's set up, is I can do this whether I'm at my house or not, which is really amazing. 9 times out of 10, you're trying to do something or manage something and you're not at your house, or something's not working, or your password needs to be reset. All that stuff you're able to do from afar. So anyways, just because I'm in the UID doesn't mean that I can't add users manually. So that's pretty cool stuff. So with that, let me go through the top questions that I had and the top questions that I'm seeing on the internet. All right, so the first question was, what's the difference between a snapshot and a backup? Think of it this way. A snapshot is basically a base image backup, and then each little increment is done in a little slice, and it added to that base backup. So the difference between it and a regular backup is the file level backup. If you look at the backup, you'll be able to see all your files. So if you have a regular backup, you can just go in there and take out an individual file. So on image level backup, you do a restore, and it restores the whole volume at once. So if you look at the files themselves, you won't see any data in the files. So you actually have to go through a restore process. There's pluses and minuses to both of them, and the ability to do both is awesome. So the snapshots also give you the versioning history, which gives you the ability to go back, a day, 2 days, 5 days, 6 days, 10 days, whatever interval you've got there, and you can go back in those intervals. So there's, pluses and minuses of both, like I said, and the ability to have both is, gives you that versatility. Next question is kind of transfer speeds. Everything on my network is 10 gigabit. I'm getting basically 500 megabits per second, which is amazing. It's as fast as these compact flash type A cards read off of my camera. So for me, it's pretty much as fast as I need to go. Obviously, this is going to be very dependent on your individual network. I've got 10 gig cards on my computers. I've got very high switching, ag switch, the whole 9 yards there. Your mileage may vary there, but theoretically, you should be getting about 500 megabits per second on transfer speeds, which is awesome. Next question is kind of the user experience. I think this is kind of the trump card here. If you're used to identity, if you're used to protect, if you're used to network, all this is just going to make sense to you. It's got the same kind of structure when you log into Drive. It all looks very similar. They've also been developing it. Obviously, I've had this probably for 4 or 5 months now. The point releases have been coming out fast and furious, and I expect that to continue as for protect and network and everything else that UNIFI has been doing lately. So as far as the experience, the setup was super easy. You can do it either from your phone or you can do it from the desktop. It walks you right through everything. It's not very complicated. I think you can be up and running. I don't know. It probably took me 20, 30 minutes to get from a raw state to fully deployed with UID, all ready to go. I think definitely one of the pluses of the system is its ease of use. One of the drawbacks people are going to mention is there's not a ton of apps here. So basically what you're getting here is a NAS. It's a really nice NAS. It looks beautiful. It's going to go on your system. It's going to be great. But this is a NAS. So you're not going to get 500 apps that are going to do everything that you can possibly think of. If you're looking at a Synology or a QNAP devices that has a bunch of apps on it, this is going to be a different experience. I obviously, running an MSP, have seen pretty much all NASs out there. I do a lot of Synology. I do a lot of QNAP. I have an HL15 from 45 Home Labs at my house. I've run the gamut from the least expensive NASs to the most expensive NASs. And I can say this is fitting right there in a nice spot. $499, this is a really nice device. It can go well over 100 terabytes depending on your drive selection, which is more than most anybody needs. It's got the 10 gigabit connectivity, but what you're not going to be doing is running a bunch of third-party apps on this thing, which for most people is fine. For me, honestly, I really want my NAS to just be a NAS. I want it to be fast. I want to be able to map a drive on my desktop and just use it. But ultimately, at the end of the day, I'm into photography, I'm into videography. put a ton of photos and a ton of video on this thing? Can it transfer? Can it pull it off? Can I do backups? Can I do snapshots? Does all those things. Do I need this to be my NVR? Do I need this to run, Home Assistant and Plex and 100 other things? I don't. It brings me to comparison to my HL15, which this is not a comparison to my HL15, but my HL15 has got everything hyper-converged on it. Very, very expensive unit. And I wanted to see, hey, can I put everything on my OneDrive? And, my experience with that HL15, although I love my HL15, I think it would be a much better financial decision to buy this device and go with a server next to it to do all of that compute, not on the NAS itself. Now, that's my experience. Everybody's going to be a little different, but I don't necessarily think that it not having those apps is necessarily a bad thing. This is just going to be a pure NAS for you. Obviously, being in the UNIFI system here, I don't have a crystal ball, but one can read the tea leaves that it'll be easy for them to integrate NAS features with Protect or Talk or all the other apps. Have some advantages being having the UNAS-Pro be locally. I'm sure the development it just makes sense that will happen over time. That being said, this doesn't have that rich ecosystem of third-party apps, and I don't know that it ever will. That brings me to, who is this NAS for? Me. Basically, it's somebody that has a bunch of data they want to store somewhere. They want to be able to access it quickly. They want it to be in a unified system. They want it to look beautiful on their rack. They want to have the versatility of 7 bays, which obviously leads you to large storage. I think this is a reasonably priced NAS at $499 with the 10 gigabit connectivity, with the 7 drive bays, with the ability to run power backup at some point. And obviously, there's been so much hype and demand for this device. I'm sure it's going to sell well. So this is another one. If you want this device and you see it's available, I would buy it immediately because I'm sure it's going to sell out very quickly. So that's my review of the UNAS Pro. It's a really cool device. I'm actually going to format it one more time and bring it up to the office here and use it with UID. If you have any questions or anything you want us to test out, please leave them in the comments down below. Otherwise, please like and subscribe as always, and we'll see you guys in the next video.